in yesterday's class, we started with the stability property. See, today, and we have discussed the related problems also. Today, we are going to discuss the second property called memory. Okay. So these notes you can write it later. Only the problems you can solve during the class. To write the theory part, you can leave a space in your notebook. Later, you can just update it. So memory, you know what is the meaning of memory in general. So I can say my system is said to possess memory if its output depends upon the past value or the future values of the input signal. So memory means it should store the values. So what values it will store? It can store either the past value or it can predict the future values. Then I can say the system is said to possess memory. So this is the definition, and I feel that you may get one question in this. What is system, and explain 4 to 5 properties or 4 properties of the system. So which you feel easy to explain, you can write in the exam. Which out of 6 properties? So memory is one of easiest property. A system is said to possess memory if its output depends upon the past or future values of the input signal. Okay. So I have written in my notes. I have underlined memory and I have written a dynamic. Okay. So the meaning is if the system has a memory, then the system is a dynamic system. So both you should remember. If system has a memory, okay. So the system is also called as dynamic system. You know what is the meaning of dynamic? Dynamic means the value keeps varying. Okay, so it's floating. So when the system will be floating, when the system remembers the old values and the future values, then I can say the system will be floating. The system is not static, it is dynamic. So we have introduced 2 words now under this topic. One is memory, another one is dynamic. So all the memory system are dynamic systems. So memory means it should remember the past value and it should predict the future values of the input signal. So opposite to this is a memoryless system. So memoryless system, I can say the system is said to be a memoryless system if its output depends only on the present value of the input signal. Okay. So the output is produced only based upon the present value of the input, then the system is said to be memoryless. So all memoryless system can be called a static system, static. So this is very simple property. Hardly you have only the definitions for these property and you do not have any equations under this, but we will just discuss the problem. So problem is a resistor is a memoryless since the current I of t is flowing through it in response to the applied voltage is determined by I of t is equal to 1 by R V of t. So I can say one example for memoryless system is resistor. Resistor is a memoryless system. I will tell inductor is a memoried system. I will give you how I am telling resistor is a memoryless system and inductor is a memoried system. So now you know Ohm's law, V is equal to I into R. So in this, I know what is the current. Current is nothing but the ratio of voltage by the resistor. The resistor value is always fixed. The resistor value won't be changing. So I do not perform any operation here, either integration or differentiation. None of the operations are performed here. So I can say if the resistance is constant, 1 by R is constant, then my output is directly dependent upon the input. V is the input means, so if V is equal to 5 volt, my current will be directly equal to 5 amps. Because if I consider 1 by R is constant, so I can say I is directly proportional to V. Here there is no special operation, right, such that it changes the output based upon the input. So that's why I'm telling resistor is a memoryless device. So now let me give an example for memory device. So I have an inductor. So inductor, I can say it is having memory because you know the formula. If we want to calculate the current is nothing but integration of voltage, right, which is multiplied with the inductor 1 by L, inductance value. So this integration says that you know the limits of integration is from minus infinity to plus t. That means to calculate the current, I should know the value of voltage at each values of the limits. So I should know minus infinity, what is the value of voltage? I have to substitute here. Then I have to find what is the value of voltage between minus infinity to plus t. So between minus infinity to plus t, I have enormous values. So all those values, I should know the value of the voltage. So if I want the value of voltage at all the values,
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes, yes, ma,
Ma'am,
yes, I can hear you. Tell me, yes, yes, I can hear you, ma. Tell me,
your voice is breaking, ma'am.
voice is breaking. There is a network problem. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So now, did you people understood why resistor is memoryless? Can I proceed with inductor?
No, ma'am.
Do I need to explain the resistor also? Am I audible now?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
My question is, do I need to explain resistor also again?
No, ma'am. Inductor you explain.
Okay, fine. Inductor. So inductor, I was explaining the current is obtained by integrating the voltage. So integrating the voltage, you know what is the meaning of integration in general? So I should have group of voltage values. I have to calculate. I have to solve that such that I'll be getting the inductance, the current. So the system should remember all the values of voltage at different instance of time. For example, I have a scale here. I know this is 0 and towards the right hand side it is plus t, and I can say it is up to infinity and this is minus infinity. So I should know the value of voltage at minus infinity and I should know the value at this point. I can say for example minus 10. I should know the value of voltage at minus 8. So like that, I should remember the values of voltage up to T. Okay. Then only I can perform the integration such that if I multiply that complete integration value with 1 by L, I will get the current. So inductor stands here as an example for the memory system. If there is no memory, the inductor cannot, we cannot calculate the current using this formula of integration. So I hope you understood. I have given two examples. One is resistor for the memoryless system. The other one is inductor for the memory system. Okay. So now you just see this and tell me the answer. No need to write. I have a moving average system. Y of n is equal to 1 by 3 x of n plus x of n minus 1 plus x of n minus 2. It has a memory. It has a memory because why I am calling it as a memory, because the output of y of n, it not only depends upon the current value of x of n. This is my current value. This is my current value. It also depends upon the x of n minus 1. N minus 1 means it represents past value, and again it depends also on x of n minus 2. Again I can say it depends upon the past value. So this equation says that the system is a memory system because the output y of n not only depends upon the current input x of n, it also depends upon the past values of the input. Is this example is understood? Y of n is equal to 1 by 3 x of n plus x of n minus 1 plus x of n minus 2. Why this is called as memory system? Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes. So now I will take another example. So another example, if you see, you can see here, y of n is equal to x square of n. Okay. Though answer is visible in the screen, I want you to just analyze it, whether this belongs to memory or memoryless. Do you have anything here other than x of n? Do you have x of n minus 1 or x of n plus 1 like that? Do you have anything other than this n in the question for the input signal?
No, ma'am.
So can I say this is memoryless system? Because the output y of n is nothing but the current at that instant. My output at that instant depends upon the input at that instant. Okay. So I do not have any minus 1 or plus 1 for the input signal at the right hand side. So I can say the system is a memoryless system. So now we will just see one problem here. See what the problem is, how far does the memory of the moving average system described by the input output relation extend into the past? So how many units it extends into the past? If I see the first one, it represents the input signal, current input signal. If I see the second term, it represents the input signal at 2 times past. That means 2 units past. And if I see this x of n minus 4, I can say this says that my input signal at 4 time units past. So our question is how far the total memory extend into the past. So how much it is extended into the past? What is the highest value of the delay? So can you see the highest value of the delay in this question? Or what is the highest value of the delay?
4.
4. So 4 time units it has extended into the past. 4 time units. Okay. So these are the simple things just for your understanding purpose. I have written these examples. And see, I have a question here. This is also very simple. The input-output relationship of the semiconductor diode is represented by, so I of t is my output, which is equal to A naught plus A1 into V of t plus A2 into V square of t plus A3 into V cube of t. Does this diode, because this equation is for the diode, does the diode is a system here. Does the diode have a memory? So what is your answer here? Is the diode having a memory? Anybody can reply. Is the diode having the memory as per this equation? No. Why? Because I have V of t. I do not have V of t minus 1 or V of t minus 2 like that. This delay is not present in this equation. So I can say the system is a memoryless system. Okay. So now we will see some more examples. So the next problem is the input-output relationship of the capacitor is described by V of t is equal to 1 by C integral minus infinity plus t I of tau d tau. Tell me whether the system belongs to memory or memoryless.
Memoryless.
Memoryless, because to get output V of t, I have to perform the integration of my input, the current. So I should know all the values of current. Then only after integration, I can get my output V of t. So you can understand easily depending upon the equation whether the system is memory or memoryless. Okay. So with this, we have completed the second property of the system. Now the third property. Third property is also the easiest property. So if they ask you to write the properties by your own, you can write the first two property and this third property also. These are very easy. So causality property, and you attend any competitive exams, you get questions based on this. They give some equation, they will ask you to check whether the system is causal or non-causal. So you should know on what basis you should analyze whether the system is causal or non-causal. So the answer is over here. So the answer is, I can say the system is said to be causal if the present value of the output depends only on the present and past values of the input signal. So don't get confused with memory and causal. Memory is different and causal is different. So I will repeat the definition again. A system is said to be causal. So when it is said to be causal, if the current output, that means the present output, depends upon the present input as well as the past input. Okay. So then the system is said to be causal. So here there is no future value. The causality means it should only depend upon the present and past values of the input. It should not depend upon the future values of the input. So can I give the contrary statement for the non-causality? So non-causality, how can I define? The output signal depends upon the future values, only future values, one or more future values of the input signal. Then the system is said to be non-causal. So total you have three things. One is present value. Next one is past value, and the third one is future value. So out of these three things, if the system obeys present and past, then that is said to be causal. If the system output depends upon the future values of the input, then it is said to be non-causal. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So now I want to give an example for this. So I have given two examples here in this screen. So the first one is I have taken y of n is equal to 1 by 3 x of n plus x of n minus 1 plus x of n minus 2. So now you see, you can see this x of n is representing the present value. N minus 1 is representing the past. N minus 2 is also representing the past. So it has present and past values. So tell me, it is causal or non-causal?
Causal.
Causal. Okay. So now the next question is, you can see the next equation. You have all the three terms. One is n plus 1. N plus 1 is representing the future. Okay. Then n is x of n is present. This is present. And x of n minus 1 is past. So here all the three things are present. Then how I should come to the conclusion? So remember, if the system output depends upon the future value of the input, then you don't need to see the remaining terms. So directly seeing the future term itself, you can say that the system is non-causal. You should not get confused. Ma'am, here all the three things are applicable. Present value is also there, past value is also there, future value is also there. Then how do I decide whether it is causal or not causal? So the priority goes to the future value. If future value is present in the equation, then you no need to worry about the remaining terms. Directly you can say that the system is non-causal. So it does not mean that the equation should have only the future value. It can have the past value, it can have the present value, but you should avoid it when you do the analysis. You should only see the future value, and then you can predict this as it is a non-causal. I hope I made you understand causal and non-causal, how to analyze it. So, and you know also what is memoryless, how to analyze it. So now we have one problem, just an example problem. The circuit, I have a circuit here in the screen. The input voltage is V1 of t, the output voltage is V2 of t. They're asking whether the system is causal or non-causal. So to understand whether it is causal or non-causal, I should see the component present. See, this is actually R and C is nothing but a low pass filter. It is just a filter, okay? It is just a filter. So it is not doing any other operation, it is performing only the filtering operation. So the output is dependent upon the input, both in, so here I can say directly the output depends upon the present input, I can say. And you all know the resistor is a memoryless device. So I can say my output V2 of t is directly depend on the current input V1 of t. And here there is no hint for the future values. The output is depend on the future values. So I can say the system belongs to partial. So I think in this is your fourth semester. So you will do in the lab. If you have the resistor and capacitor combination like this, then this is called as low pass filter. Low pass filter. It acts like a filter. Like in our houses, in the kitchen, we use filter, right? For tea preparation like that. It filters the unwanted things. So it is just performing filtering operation. Here there is no matter of the past input values. We no need to think about whether the output is depend on the past input values. So directly we see the filtered output is V2 of t. V2 of t is directly related to the current value of V1 of t. So there is no past or no future here. So to say the system is partial, it should obey one of the condition. One condition is past and other condition is present. Out of two conditions, it can obey any one condition. Okay. Not always both the conditions to be satisfied. So here for this problem, the present condition is satisfied. So this system is partial. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Now the next one is, I have one more example here. The K is the operator. K, suppose K is the operator. You can see clearly the question. K is the operator. That means you have S power K. This is the system. System is having the operator S power K. My input is X of N. My output is X of N minus K. N minus K. See, the question is slightly twisted. They are telling that the K present in the system is replaced by minus K. If K is replaced by minus K, then they are asking whether the system is causal or non-causal. So if it is S power K, then my output is, as per the diagram, it is X of N minus K. Now the question what they have given is, if this K is replaced by minus K, that means now the operation is S power minus K. If it is S power minus K, then my output will be X of N plus K. So now you can tell me, seeing this, whether the system is causal or non-causal. So what is your answer?
Non-causal.
Non-causal, because it is plus K. But seeing the question, seeing the diagram, you may think that because of X of N minus K, it is causal. You may think like that. But you should read the question properly. They are telling that K is replaced with minus K. So if it is replaced with minus K, you have to write the output according to the replacement. If you write the output according to the replacement, it is X of N plus K. So it is non-partial. Okay. So first three properties are really very easy. So further properties after this fourth property, further property, it is a bit lengthy. Not difficult, but it is a bit lengthy. That's it. So the next fourth property is invertibility. Invertibility. You know what is the meaning of inverse? So inverse, let me give you an example. So I can explain you with this diagram itself. So you just forget about the part which is after this slash. Now you just understand only these three parts. I have a system H. Input to the system is X of t. Output to this system is, output from the system is Y of t. Now I want to get back my input signal X of t. Okay. I have done some operation with the help of the system. Then I converted my X of t into Y of t. But now what I want is, I want to get back my system X of t from the output Y of t. So what I should do is, this output I should pass it to the system. That system should have an operation, inverse operation of the system which is present earlier. Inverse operation I have to perform. So if I perform the inverse operation of Y of t, then I will get X of t, which is nothing but the input signal. So invertibility says that you can get back your input. You can get back your input by performing inverse operation. That's it. So you can see here the definition. The system is said to be invertible if, when it is said to be invertible, if the input of the system can be recovered from the output. So this is my output. Using this output and using this inverse system, I could recover my input x of t from this output y of t. If the recovery is possible, then only the system is said to be invertible. If the recovery is not possible, then the system is said to be non-invertible. So I hope this is clear for you. In mathematics, you use for inverse operation a power minus 1 like that. If suppose a is the matrix a power minus 1 inverse. So a power minus 1 is the inverse of a. So you know inverse operation is just the opposite operation. So I have explained with the help of this block diagram. So the same thing what I have explained is given here, written here. The second operator is H inverse, which is the inverse of the first operator H. Then I can get back my input signal x of t from the output signal y of t. So we will further discuss invertibility in detail. So now to write this equation, you should remember the diagram. I will draw the diagram again here. H. So here it is y output and here it is x input. So I will take different color just to represent the H inverse. H inverse. So my output is x here. So now I want you to just see the block diagram and tell me if I perform the H inverse operation for y, then how to write that in equation? See, H inverse of y of t. H inverse of y of t. So as per the diagram, if I perform H inverse operation for y, I should get x. So when I do this derivation, my last equation at the right hand side should be x. So I'm just proving it. So I am just taking H inverse of y of t. Okay. So H inverse of y of t is equal to H inverse operation I'm keeping as it is. And I am writing y of t from the diagram. From the diagram, y of t can be written as H of x of t from the block diagram. Can I write y of t as H of x of t from the diagram?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I have written this y of t as H of x of t. So now I'll just brackets I can interchange or I can swap it. When I swap or interchange the bracket, I can combine H inverse and H together and I can put the bracket only for the x of t. So now you know even in mathematics also A into A inverse, you will say it is equal to identity matrix. In matrix, A matrix multiplied with its inverse will give you in identity matrix I. The same way here, H inverse multiplied with H. So H inverse is nothing but I can write H inverse as 1 by H. Okay, H inverse is nothing but 1 by H. So here in place of H inverse, I will write 1 by H and I have one more H in the numerator. So if I just cancel it, I'll be getting 1 as the answer. That 1 I'm giving is in the form of identity operator. Because these are operators, so my output also I'm giving in terms of operator. I is the operator. So I of x of t, identity matrix operator multiplied with x of t, my output is again x of t only. X of t only. So what I proved from this derivation is, as per the block diagram, the H inverse operation of y should give me x. So the same thing I have proved here. I have taken H inverse of y. I proved that it is equal to x of t at the right hand side. But how did I prove? I have done some substitution as per the blocks. So y of t I can replace with h of x of t. I can interchange the bracket and I can calculate h inverse into h is how much, which is equal to I. So I of x of t is again x of t. So the right answer I am getting x of t. So this operation says that since I could get back my x of t using inverse operation, The system is said to be invertible. Okay. So I hope you all followed that. Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So now I'll just give you an example for this. So example is I have a time shift system described by the input output relation. So they have given y of t is equal to x of t minus t naught. Everything they have given in the question. S power t naught. S power t naught is nothing but the operator. See how I got y of t is equal to x of t minus t naught. So I can just draw the block so that you will understand it easily. So I should get at the output y of t is equal to x of t minus t naught. So my input is originally x of t. So I should get minus t naught in the final output. So for that, I can use my operator s power t naught. S power t naught. This is my operator. So my y of t is nothing but, as per the block which I have drawn, I can write that y of t is nothing but the operator s power t naught of x of t. So if I use the operator, then my output is x of t minus t naught. So they have given both in the question. They have given in terms of operator as well as they have given in terms of final output. So question, you no need to worry much about the expressions. Just for your knowledge sake, I have just given how you got x of t minus t naught using s power, the operator s power t naught. So they have also mentioned the operator s power t naught represents time shift of t naught seconds. Find the inverse of the system. So the solution is here. The solution is I should know what is the inverse of s power t naught. So I will just assume this s power t naught as h as per the definition. So I want h inverse. Okay, so to get h inverse, what changes I have to do? Here it is plus t naught. So I will just take minus t naught. So my first step is s power minus t naught is the inverse of s power plus t naught. So now what I will do? In order to get back my input x of t, what I should do? Like in the earlier definition, h inverse I have taken for output y of t. So I have done the derivation such that right answer I got x of t back. So the same thing I'm doing here. In place of h inverse, I have s power minus t naught. So s power minus t naught is equal to y of t. So s power minus t naught within the bracket in place of y of t. Can I write s power t naught into x of t? Is it correct? Can anybody tell me? Y of t, as per the question, can I write y of t as s power t naught into x of t?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, you know, you can change the brackets, right? Brackets can be rearranged. So if you rearrange the bracket, you know, s power t naught and s power minus t naught becomes 1. So within the bracket, you have just x of t. So I into x of t is x of t. So what is my conclusion here? Using the inverse system is s power minus t naught. When I apply h inverse to the output y of t, I should get back my input x of t. So I successfully got the input x of t. So I say that the given system is invertible. Given system is invertible. So any doubts up to this?
No, ma'am.
No. So I will further proceed to the next example. The inductor is described by, so I have an inductor which is described the input output relation. Y of t is equal to 1 by L integral minus infinity to t x of tau d tau. Find the operation representing the inverse system. So they are not asking whether the system is invertible or not. They are asking which operation we should perform to get the inverse of this question. You know, always differentiation and integration both are inverse to each other, right? So my output y of t I got by integrating the input x of t. Now I want this x. back, the input back. In order to get input back, I have to perform differentiation on both the sides. So opposite operation for integration is differentiation. So if I perform differentiation on both the sides, okay, then at the right hand side again differentiation on both the sides, what will happen? Integration differentiation will be cancelled. So I will get x of t at the right hand side. If I rearrange, my x of t will be equal to, you have 1 by L, that L will go to the other side. So L into d by dt of y of t. Is this is clear? They are asking what is the operation we have to perform to get the inverse